I need 2 seconds to just get this set up so we're... How about the first two stories? Those are fantastic. I was talking to a friend of mine who's here, and he was asking about the process of the storytelling and getting the story written and meeting with Marsha. And I've been writing songs for a long time, but I've never written a story from a memory. And you build a different relationship. We've got a weird relationship with what we remember and what we don't remember from things. And when you go to write a story, you have to come to terms with what you remembered and what you actually don't remember. And so it's a neat process how the human mind kind of categorizes what you can easily pull out, and then you have to kind of dig a bit deeper. Thank you for bearing with me. So when I was little, my mom said to me to take care of my brother. My younger brother, Courtney, 2 years younger than me. She didn't give a lot of details about that. She was pretty unspecific. It was a bit of a blanket statement, take care of your younger brother. And it was my first time having a bit of responsibility. It was a big deal. This was a big deal. He's my younger brother. My mom has told me something fairly important. Looking back on it, I feel that my mom, she knew that her and my father were not a good deal, and that I was going to need to care for him to some degree. At the time, it was take care of your brother. So, I'm sorry about I'm going to try not shaking this so that you're getting the light in your eyes. We lived across the street from our public school in Grimsby, Ontario. And when I was 10, my brother was 8, he decided it was a brilliant idea to climb the roof of the school on a weekend in the summer. And so I follow after him, hearing my mom's words in my ears. And we get onto the roof, and I don't remember being on the roof. I couldn't tell you what it looked like. I couldn't tell you what the temperature was. I do remember sitting on the edge of the roof and staring down at my brother, who had climbed down fine, and coming to terms with, I had a fear of heights, and I wasn't even aware of it really. And he went into the school and banged on the door, and the principal came out, who was there on a weekend. Mr. Ransom, this big gregarious, normally gregarious man, was just disappointed. And I felt embarrassment and fear. And on top of that, I felt that I just really hadn't taken care of my brother at all. When we were young, we rented a cottage up in Sudbury, this really cheap and cheerful bunch of cabins on the water. And if you've ever been up to Sudbury, Ontario, you'll notice that all the highways are blasted out of the rock. And there's these big rock walls of just like shale. And my brother thought it was a brilliant idea to climb these rock walls right on Highway 17. And in true fashion, I follow after him. So for summer after summer, we do this. And I'm fearful every time we go up to the cottage, because he's going to want to climb these damn walls. And I just stuck with it. I said, no, I'm going to take care of my brother. When we were 15, my mom's parents were getting older, and she said, we need to take them out to the East Coast for the last time they get to see the East Coast. Anyone here been up to the East Coast before? All right, so Halifax, Nova Scotia, Cape Breton, we're getting a bit more specific. That's a little island off of Nova Scotia. Glace Bay, even more specific. That's where they were from. So we did this trip when I was 15. My brother was 13. I don't have any memories of talking with my brother at all on that trip. I know he was there. We were in the car together. But I spent the entire trip with my father. He spent the entire trip either packing or unpacking the minivan. He was always in the state of either packing it or unpacking it. looking back on it, I realized this kept him from having to deal with either my mother or her parents. And so I spent all my time outside with him, and other than packing and unpacking, all he did was complain. And he complained about my mom, and he complained about my grandparents, and he complained about the minivan, and he complained about the East Coast. And it was hard because it was the first time that I ever experienced disdain. And not even for myself, watching someone have disdain for someone else. Like 15 years old, you don't really experience that. And I really wanted to connect with my father, but I didn't agree with him. I didn't feel the same way. And it was hard seeing that sort of first fracture. When I was 16 and my brother was 14, my mom decided to do a big family trip. My mother had a huge affinity for the West Coast, specifically Vancouver Island. And so we planned this family vacation. We're going to do 3 weeks. We're going to drive out west and then drive back through the States. And it's the four of us in this van for 3 weeks, and it's egg salad sandwiches to keep costs down. And you're driving across the country. And you're witnessing that kind of fight that's there. That thing that happened on the East Coast is still there, and it's interesting. And you're sort of in that small space. And we got to this cavern. There's a lot of roadside attractions between here and Vancouver Island. There's big things, man-made things to stop at, and there's scenic points to look at, and there's also big caves. There's lots of little caves to stop at on the West Coast. And so we stopped at this one, and we get out of the minivan. And for my brother and I, it's great, because we've been just sitting in the van, and for my parents, I think these roadside attractions were an excuse to literally get out of the van and just do this for a bit. And so my brother and I go into this cave, and it's a big cavern, like 50-foot ceiling, stone floor. There's a little stream going through it. And up the one wall, there's this ledge that slowly starts climbing from the floor. And it's about 2 feet wide. And it just slowly keeps climbing up. And this is not in an area where we're really supposed to be. There's usually pretty defined paths. Look at this stuff, look at this stuff. And this is properly off limits. This is also properly Courtney Gostling territory. That's my brother's name. But for whatever reason on this trip, I said, you know what? I'm going to take the lead on this one. I get that I'm scared of heights, but we're here, we're doing this thing. I'm gonna do this. And so the cave is cold, and it's damp. And I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I was 16 and it was about 95, so I was wearing a hypercolor t-shirt, if anyone remembers those. And a pair of Doc Martens. And so my brother and I start climbing up this ledge, and there's no one in there. And we keep working our way up it, and as we move up it, the ceiling starts just kind of coming over top of us, and the area that we've got to move is getting smaller, and we're getting higher up. And as we get higher up, it also is jutting out over this kind of like stone, simple stream underneath us. And so we're forced to sit down and kind of shuffle our way over. And it's neat because we're getting higher, we're seeing more stuff, and I'm scared, but we're just shuffling our way over. And then we get to a point where I'm sitting there and my hands are on the rocks behind me and my feet are on the rocks. And I realize that I keep on slowly lifting up my hands and readjusting them because they keep on sliding. So it's a big cavern. So everything's covered in moss and slime, and if there's a bit of water, it just kind of adds up to a bit of an algae. And I realize that my hands are just like moving, and my feet are moving a bit, and I keep on sort of just readjusting them. I didn't even realize I was doing this. And we get to a spot where I stop, and I realize that there is a very, very real possibility that I'm going to fall. I'm just going to slip off this thing, and it's about 35, 40 feet down. I will probably break my neck. And Courtney's sitting next to me, and he doesn't realize this is the case. We're just sort of sitting there. And I say, hey, I'm slipping, and I'm probably gonna fall, and I'm probably gonna die, and I'm really sorry, and I love you, and I want you to tell Mom and Dad that I love them. And I'm afraid of this situation, but I'm more afraid of the fact that I'm more upset that I'm having to apologize to my brother that I'm not going to be there. And he leans over to me and he proceeds to undo the lace of my right Doc Marten. He's not said anything to me. And he starts undoing it, and he starts really undoing it, and just really carefully. So I get it, and I lift up my foot, and he takes my Doc off, and he throws it beside him, and I put my foot down. And I'm wearing those gray and white with the red band wool socks that you had to wear with the Doc Martens when you were 16 in 1996. And I get the grip with the foot, and he undoes my other shoe, and he takes it off, and I put my sock foot down. And he throws the Doc. And we get down off the ledge. And we walk out of the cavern together. And I remember just like that. I also learned the feeling of sullen. Because you're just sort of like, I just remember feeling just sort of low and quiet. And it was the most silent my brother and I have ever been with each other in our lives. And the trip went on, and we drove home, and I got to drive a portion of it, and I'm driving on our way back to Canada, and I realized that my family is asleep in the van. And I realized that my brother also got the same story from my mom, take care of your brother. And I realized that this was going to be the last family vacation we'd ever take. And the end of something. And at the end of that something, what I got out of it was that I've got this person that has my back, and I didn't necessarily realize it. And yeah, it was that moment of sort of something falling apart, and also realizing that I've got this person that has always been there. This is Slow Divide. Stayed awake, love, staring at the sunrise. In my mind, the untold space between us, building a slow divide, heartbreaking. Seems to be a team sport. It's better in the cold, cold rain when both sides show up for the game. Strip away all and leave behind. Strip away all and leave behind. Strip away all and leave behind. Only what I love, only what I know. I feel the car crash went very well, don't you think? Staring back at me from the bottom of the kitchen sink, and it's not done. Just quite right. You can grow to lose integrity tonight. You can take what's yours, but not what's mine. Unless you feel I owe you something, no, so much. with everything, but I've only got 2 shoulders for carrying. Strip away all and leave behind. Strip away all and leave behind. Strip away all and leave behind. Only what I love, only what I know.
Gostling!